Hello, nerds. Welcome to the Week in Nerdom. Today's episode, we're going to be covering a fair amount of ground. We have the Star Wars celebration that just happened, so there's going to be a bit of conversation around all of the things announced there. We also have a new Stranger Things spin-off series that must be talked about because it's not exactly what you're thinking, probably. There's also Street Fighter movie news. That's right, you heard correctly. News on a new Street Fighter movie. Plus, speaking of movies based on games that apparently we're getting, Minecraft and Five Nights at Freddy's both have pretty big updates as far as the movie adaptations of both of those. So stick around for all of that. We've got a bunch more. Let's do the thing. Okay, kicking off the housekeeping, we have it's regularly scheduled episode today, obviously. The live episode, I might work something out for this weekend. It will potentially be a shortened live episode, but either way, we should get something happening that can be then posted up to the other outlets and such. So yeah, I'm not gonna necessarily commit 100% to that, but I'm very likely going to do some sort of live news this Friday evening. So that being said, as far as other things go, we are coming up on some scheduling conflicts that, again, I'm just disheveled. I don't know what's going on. I don't have all of my stuff in front of me. We will cover that on the live show. So all of that being said, let's just jump into the news. Kicking things off in music news, we have touring information from Botch once again. Thank God they are touring. It's so awesome. Anyway, we also have As I Lay Dying in the news, as well as Avenged Sevenfold doing something to combat ticket prices and Ticketmaster and such. Though, I don't know, it's a little bit less noble than that and a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. We'll get to that. First things first, though, we have new music and new music videos to discuss. Our big one coming out the gate is Greta Van Fleet has released a new song called Meeting the Master. This comes from their new record called Starcatcher, which will be out July 21st. And yeah, this is exactly what you think it is. They are still trying to be Led Zeppelin. And I mean, we already got a Led Zeppelin. Not that it's a terrible thing necessarily, but like, oh boy, Greta Van Fleet just isn't my thing. The reason I wanted to talk about this, though, is because I really want to hear from somebody who thinks these guys are just great. Because I have not met anyone who legitimately just loves Greta Van Fleet. So if you are out there, leave a comment or suggest something, like, because I don't get it, man. Why is this band so successful? I legitimately want to know. So that is that. Let's move next to our next video is Daughtry. I mean, there's a U in the damn name. Daughtry, I think, is how it's pronounced. The guy who was on American Idol, who is the only other successful one besides, I think, the first three. He put out a new single. This one is super noteworthy because Lizzie Hale does guest vocals on it, and it is a Journey cover. So the song that they covered is Separate Ways, Worlds Apart. You can find the link down in the description. I mean, this is surprisingly good. Daughtry has a great voice. Like, always thought that. His preferred genre of music is not exactly my bag. It's a little too polished, a little too fake in a lot of ways, as far as like the sentiment. I know that's going to get me a lot of really negative comments, but whatever, man. That's just the feeling that I get from Daughtry's delivery. This song, though, is legit good. Like this, I mean, it is covering Journey, which is one of the greatest pop rock bands of the last 40 years, so that helps. But yeah, it's pretty great. I'm super jealous of the hoodie he's wearing in the video, but aside from that, no real video comments, just pretty good track. Let's move on. Oh boy, Taproot is our next song. Taproot is our next band. The song is Victim Play. It's coming from their record Scissors that's coming out soon. So a lot of the like nostalgia acts from roughly that time, the metalcore, the nu metal, all of that stuff from when Taproot was legitimately a thing, they seem to like get into this rut and just basically make the same record over and over again, which, you know, there's certain good things and bad things to be said about doing that. Some of them seem to try new things with their sound. That is apparently what Taproot is kind of doing. Generally speaking, though, I think the ones that usually try and do something different get a little better just with age and general, you know, knowledge of your instrument and things. I don't think that's Taproot. Yeah. That's all the good that we can say about this one. Let's move on, shall we? Our next one is a little goth tune by an artist named Ludovico Technique. I believe he's Italian. The name of the song is Live As Myself. If you are into the gothy stuff, this is going to be probably not the greatest, but something that is definitely addable to the collection to kind of put that the nicest way possible. It's not bad. It is by no stretch of the imagination is it bad, but it's also not very good. It's very synthy, pretty. There's an industrial kind of tinge to it. Dudes, it's just, I think my big issue is the mix. The vocals are a little too dominating over everything else, and just, I don't know, just it doesn't seem like things mesh super well in this. But also, the lyrics are very like trite and just not very expertly put together. So a lot of goth music works out very well. See Lord of the Lost. This is kind of like a poor man's Lord of the Lost. That's a fair way to describe Ludovico Technique. Our final piece of new music comes from a newer band, named Omerta. That is right, there is a band named Omerta. There is apparently a million different songs named Omerta as well. Omerta obviously is the book by the same guy who wrote The Godfather that Lamb of God very famously turned into a song as well. Well, this is the band Omerta. The name of this song is Anti-Amorous. That's featuring John Janaskis, I believe is how that is pronounced. And I have heard these guys referred to as, quote, the future of metal, unquote. And if that's the case, we've got a lot of ADHD in our future there, metalheads. This is actually impressively good at times, but it's so scattered that, I don't know, the sum of its parts, I guess, is not quite as good as I wanted it to be, but it's still a recommend for sure. Like, definitely give this a listen, because this is like, all right, so take Protest the Hero and then take Code Orange and the ADD that is associated therein, and then multiply it by about 50. That's roughly where you're sitting. These very talented musicians, just, I feel like a little bit more focus would probably give them a sound that's a little bit more motivating to listen to, is a fair way to say that. But either way, definitely worth a listen for sure. All right, now let's talk about tours. We have some touring to get out of the way. First up, again, not pulling any punches necessarily, Botch has announced more tour dates. They are going to Europe for the first time in 23 years. That's pretty epic. It is only like 6 dates. It kind of, follow the link in the description. There's going to be ticket links and so on and so forth. It's just kind of throughout Western Europe and nothing really extensive or crazy. So there's that. We also have Killswitch Engage has added to their tour. They have added approximately 5 to 6 dates as well, with the Fit for an Autopsy and Despised Icon. Once again, link down in the description. Next up on the list is Motionless in White have announced a brand new tour with support from In This moment, Fit for a King, and From Ashes to New. This one starts July 8th in Uncasville. Oh, I'm sorry, Uncasville. I don't think that's how you pronounce the name of your city, but Uncasville, Connecticut runs through August 19th in Albany, New York. There is a boatload of dates on here, so very likely they will be coming pretty dang close to you. Honestly, on this bill, not a whole lot that is doing much for me. Motionless in White is kind of... I don't know, I feel like they're trying a little too hard to be AFI meets Cradle of Filth, and it just doesn't do anything for me. In This Moment, though, is probably the one band on here, and maybe From Ashes to New. I've heard a lot about them, but I still have yet to listen to any of their music, so interesting lineup, that is for sure. Our next one and our final one for this touring section has to do with Mr. Bungle, also headed out on a new tour. There's actually two legs of this tour. The first leg is the West Coast. It begins May 10th in Sonoma, California, runs through May 24th in Oakland, California. This one is supported by Battles, who's not terrible. I mean, obviously they're going on tour with Mr. Bungle, but I don't know, I feel like there's maybe better music out there, which evidenced by the second leg of this tour. Second leg of this tour starts September 5th. Starts in Baltimore, Maryland, runs through September 15th in Detroit, Michigan, and this one, the support is coming from the Melvins, see, better music, the Melvins and a band called Spotlight, who I'm unfamiliar with. So tickets for both legs are separate locations, but both links are down in the description if you want to go get those, because it's Mr. Bungle, so you probably should, because they're great. But yeah, so moving on into regular ass news. We've got some regular-ass news to talk about in music, which doesn't necessarily happen much. So first up, we have As I Lay Dying has found their way back into the news cycle because they're finishing a record, which is very interesting because they've had so much turmoil as far as lineups go that this seems really, really early to be putting out a new record with this new lineup. The new lineup is as follows. Tim Lambesis and Phil Segroso are the only two original members left. Phil Segroso is the guitar player. And then we have on drums, we have Nick Pierce, who used to play for Unearth, bassist and vocalist Ryan Neff, who used to play in Miss May I, and then the other guitar player is going to be Ken Suzy, who was the dude in Unearth up until very, very recently, up until this most recent record that Unearth put out. Ken was like, he was the guitar guy that I went to in Unearth. Now they just have Buzz. Buzz does great. I'm not complaining about Buzz, but I like Ken a little bit better. Anyway, so Ken Suzy on guitar. No exact release date for this just yet, though they're coming to an end is the announcement. It will be done soon, which very likely means we will see this record before the end of this year, probably actually before the end of fall this year, or even more likely the beginning of fall, end of summer. So there you go. Yeah, but that's what we got there. Let's move over to Avenged Sevenfold is our next piece in regular ass news. So a little brief history about why this is a thing. So NFTs blew up about, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, just before COVID became a thing. And everyone was trying to figure out, A, what the hell an NFT was, and B, how they could capitalize on an NFT. How do I make money on a thing that only exists digitally? Well, in a lot of cases, you don't. In some few cases, people have gotten away with a whole hell of a lot of money, but the basic technology that NFTs are built on is something called the blockchain. The blockchain is inherently flawed. There's a whole amazing video done by the guys, I guess, the folks over at Folding Ideas. If you are unfamiliar with that channel, you should probably at the very least watch their NFT video because it's fantastic. So yeah, the blockchain is just inherently flawed for most intents and purposes. There are some limited uses for blockchain technology that are irrelevant in a way that is, you can still use it to monitor certain things, you can still use it as a registry of sorts, but as far as like being 100% infallible, probably not. Either way, that brings us to Avenged Sevenfold. So Avenged Sevenfold, back when there were a million different crypto coins, they started a crypto NFT situation for their fan club, the Death Bats Club they call it. And as part of the Death Bats Club, you get an NFT that is assigned specifically to you, again, very critical of NFTs if you hadn't noticed. So you get your NFT assigned to you. That NFT you could then sell. Their system was based on Ethereum, which is one of the more stable cryptocurrencies. So bravo to them for that, I guess. Credit where it's due, even though not much credit is due here. And like it got you certain benefits and things, and it didn't seem to go over super well with their fan base, which now brings us up to here. So they are now launching a new verification and rewards system based on blockchain technology. This time they're calling it Ticket Pass. Ticket Pass is going to be a way that you can get tickets directly from the band for shows, which there's a lot of detail in here, so I'm just going to try and like give you the TLDR. Basically, Ticket Pass is going to monitor how long you've been a member of their Ticket Pass program, and after you've hit certain milestones, then you will get certain benefits as far as like availability of tickets and special events and X, Y, and Z. So gear, merch, that kind of stuff. And it's they're trying to sell this as a way to cut cost on tickets, as a way to negate the reselling of tickets or to minimize the issue of ticket reselling, because that's how a lot of the scalpers and stuff spike those ticket prices super high. And then they say, as part of the statement of, you know, the announcement for this Ticket Pass, they say that they have verified through Ticketmaster. So yeah, they have verified through Ticketmaster that this will help ticket prices stay low. It sounds like this might legitimately be something good in that respect. The amount of good is what I'm questioning here. And also the length of time that is going to remain good, because everything that has been attached to crypto has kind of died in a lot of ways, especially crypto. That's why there's really only a small handful of different currencies anymore that are even kind of profitable. But that's a whole different rabbit hole that we're never going to go down on this channel, because I don't care to get into that kind of detail. That being said, that is what we have for the meat and potatoes of the music section. So that leaves only music suggestions for the week. And our music suggestion this week is the Callous Dowboys' most recent record, Celebrity Therapist. All right, so Dillinger Escape Plan broke up many years ago. Callous Dowboys have kind of slid in to fill that spot. There is not exactly a one-for-one comparison to Dillinger, because they do obviously have other influences, though also very obviously Dillinger is a major influence in their sound. And this new record, the Celebrity Therapist, is an example of how they're trying to split away from that Dillinger comparison at least a little bit and get a little bit more experimental in a lot of ways, but also keep it very heavy and abstract and abrasive and just great. Speaking of ADD and metal, this is kind of where things are going apparently, and I am here for it. So yeah, definitely listen to Celebrity Therapist this week. Standout tracks, we've got the brief history of time loops, is that what it's called? The Elephant Man in the Room is also incredible. I mean, I could literally list each track on this record. It's fantastic, fantastic stuff. Go listen. Let's get into a little gaming and tech. In gaming and tech, we're talking some Halo Infinite stuff. Just a little kind of sort of blew up. We've been keeping tracks on this piece, but yeah, this is more. We also are going to be talking about the E3 cancellation and what it could mean for the future, as well as Monster Energy is suing everybody. Hide your kids, hide your wife, they suing everybody up in here. Alright, so we're going to come out the gate with follow-ups. Starting things off is Halo Infinite. So Joseph Staten, the man who once worked at Bungie, who created the cutscene story for the first 3 Halo games and then defected to Microsoft proper and then worked in marketing for Microsoft proper while the 343 Bungie transition happened, and then came back to work on Halo for 343 in the multiplayer side of things, and then went back to Microsoft about 2-3 months ago, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit longer than that. Has now left Microsoft. He is no longer a Microsoft employee by any means. This is just so weird. There's so many people abandoning this apparently sinking ship that maybe we should take notice. Maybe. No word as to whether or not he's going to maybe start a new gaming studio of his own or join up with somebody else who's doing gaming. But if he goes over to Bungie, I wouldn't be surprised. We're just going to say that. That's really all we have right there, so let's move a little bit further down the road over to some more follow-ups. And this one has to do with No Man's Sky. We have the final update for the game, final free update, which they specified strangely, specifically. So the final free update for the game called Interceptor. This update adds obvious things that you would expect from an update for No Man's Sky. And that is new enemy types, we got new ships, and then there's a new corruption, so a new story element, new corruption throughout the universe of No Man's Sky that has these purple gem things that take over planets and blah, blah, blah. Also improved visuals, including for VR, but very specifically, we got some big improvements for the Xbox consoles. Not just the Series consoles, but also Xbox One consoles. So that's pretty cool. That's all we got on that one, though. So let's move over to trailers. We got a new trailer for Overwatch 2 this week. Overwatch 2 released a new champion called Life Weaver. Honestly looks pretty interesting. He's a support champion, which is not how I generally play Overwatch. I'm a little more brute. But his special, I'm sorry, I forget the proper name for ultimate ability. There we go. So his ultimate ability is called Pedal Platform, and it basically creates this tree wherever he decides this tree needs to exist. And you can use it as cover, you can use it to elevate your character to get a better point of view, or you can use it to take somebody from the opposing team out of play effectively. You put somebody who's in, I can't remember the tank names, the tank champions, but you put a tank up a little too high and they can't get a good shot off because their angle of view is off or whatever. It's going to dramatically affect the gameplay. Again, he is a support, so he's also a healer and such. Just looks like I haven't played him yet. He did launch though just the other day. What was the day? Tuesday, I believe. No. Monday is when he came out. So yeah, you can play him now. You should be able to play him now. I'm pretty sure that wasn't a beta date that I read and just totally skimmed over. But if it was, I apologize, and we'll do a follow-up on it next week. Either way, that's the trailer. Link in the description if you want to see some gameplay from Life Weaver. Let's move on, shall we? Now let's get into some regular ass news. This week, E3 was within the last 2 weeks, because we didn't do a proper episode last week. So within the last 2 weeks, E3 was canceled. Now, E3 has kind of been on the outs for a long time. So back when I was in my early 20s, worked at GameStop, which was quite a while ago. A lot longer ago than I wanted to admit. But yeah, I worked at GameStop. And when I worked at GameStop in roughly 2000, what was that, like 2008 or so, it was kind of on the outs then. And that just... I'm honestly surprised it lasted that much longer past that, because that was roughly the time when they shut down the convention, the expo, if you will, they shut it down as far as the public being allowed in. It was only for industry inside folks, only for people who worked for Microsoft or any of the developing companies or anything like that. So gaming companies, game companies, or consoles, XYZ, if you did hardware, that kind of stuff, then you were invited. But if you weren't invited, you weren't in the industry, then you couldn't just buy tickets like you can for a Comic-Con, say. Or PAX, I guess, is a little bit more comparable. So you have PAX East, PAX West, and they're gaming conventions, gaming-oriented conventions. And eventually they were like, well, so this isn't making us any money, so they opened it back up to the public, and it seemed to be going all right for a while, with a kind of a steady decline as technology made things easier for companies like Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo to kind of contact their customer base directly, as it was anyway. So the E3 is starting to lose, and then COVID hits, and they have to shut down for health concerns. And now that we're out of that, now that we are back to a place where things can function again and have been for some time, they're really struggling to bring it back, because COVID was kind of the final nail in the coffin as far as showing these other companies that yes, you can contact your clientele directly. You can get in touch with the people who are going to buy your products. You can schedule these big events on your own. I think what E3 needs to do, if they want to survive at all, because it sounds like there's no guarantee that next year is going to happen at all, but it sounds like they are going to try to do this again sometime in the future. So I think the focus needs to be turned from industry types and just make it a convention. Make it a gaming-oriented convention. Again, see PAX, see Fan Expo, see Expo. There's a number of examples that you can do here, and they're just sticking their head in the sand and hoping that the industry steers back into a way that they're relevant again, and I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, that's E3 in a nutshell. Let's move right along to our next piece, and that has to do with Monster Energy. So the reason this is coming up now, even though it's been a thing for some time, is Monster Energy recently sued, or is in the process thereof, Glowstick Entertainment for their game Dark Deception, Monsters and Mortals. Their reason for suing them is because of copyright infringement, because their marketing is, quote, confusingly similar to that of an energy drink. So this is a lot bigger than them just being dicks to a small gaming producer. This is an indie developer that they're suing because they have the weight, they can push them around. But they've honestly gone after some much bigger targets, not too distant past. So they also sued. And as part of that suit, they're also suing them over the logo, because the logo is a green that is very similar to the shade of green as the main Monster logo, even though that is the only resemblance that they have. So yeah, there's that as well. But in the past, they have sued Ubisoft for their game Gods and Monsters, which then became Immortal Phoenix Rising, which didn't do great. They also sued the Pokemon Company, so a subsection of Nintendo. They sued the Pokemon Company for the word Pocket Monsters, as well as Capcom over their Monster Hunter franchise. They are just insane. These guys have sued literally everyone who tries to put the name Monster. Like, this is only the big, like, high profile ones. There's a number of other lawsuits they've been part of because of the Monster branding. Like, they sued a amateur or a pro-am or something, a sports team, because of their logo having slash marks that kind of, sort of, maybe not really at all resembled the slash kind of M logo that they have. If you look at the two, it's like, really? You're thinking people are going to be... So, also, we've talked about this previously, Bang Energy Drinks is being sued by Monster currently because of false advertising. And actually, not currently, that one's come to a conclusion, and Bang lost, Because, and this is a big thing, because the reason they were sued, which, I mean, why is it Monster's place to make this statement? But they did it anyway. But they sued Bang because of false advertisement, because Bang the label for the Bang energy drink says that it contains a substance called super creatine. There is no creatine in Bang. There's creatinine, which is not even kind of the same thing. But they falsely advertised that there was creatine in their drinks. And so that's why Monster sued them and won. And I think it was like $280 million or something that Monster had to pay out. Monster's also, or Bang had to pay out rather. Bang is also in some other legal issues right now that we've also kind of touched on previously. So we're not going to get too deep into that. But the moral of this story is Monster Energy thinks you're stupid. They are suing people because of their, again, confusingly similar marketing campaigns when there is absolutely nothing similar, or let alone confusingly similar, about any of this marketing. It just simply uses the word monster or uses slash marks or something that kind of, like, if you're really grasping at straws to make that splint, like, maybe in a completely different universe people would be confused by, but Monster thinks you're stupid. So maybe don't buy Monster energy drinks anymore, which is going to be a big thing for me because I really like a lot of those Monster energy drinks, but this is really, really not a good look. That's what we've got to say about that. Let's move right on. That's actually everything. So we're going into suggestions for gaming and tech. And honestly, I went the lazy way and just went with Halo Infinite again because Season 3, we have just over a month left in Season 3. New store started this morning as I'm filming, and I'm digging it. Like, I know there's a lot of issues. I'm not blind to the fact that there's issues, but this is, I don't honestly enjoy the grind when I'm trying to do certain things in games that I play a lot, specifically Fallout, Mortal Kombat, and Halo. The Fallout grind I gave up on. Mortal Kombat I did because it's Mortal Kombat and I was really wanting to do certain things, but the grind just really, really got to me. Even in Mortal Kombat. So, the fact that I really don't mind the grind in Halo is pretty significant. So yeah, that's why I keep suggesting Halo Infinite for gaming, but that is your gaming suggestion this week. Get in on some Halo, man. It is just a hoot and a holler. And also, we should be expecting sometime soon, probably with Season 4, I would imagine, but maybe with the next Fracture event, we're going to see some additions to the community playlist very, very soon. At least we should, considering what they've said about how long it takes to add maps to a playlist and so on and so forth. So yeah, super excited about that, but let's keep on rolling. Comic books and books. We have get some Star Wars stuff because, again, Star Wars Celebration was a thing. Star Wars stuff to talk about. We also have a new Batman Beyond book, which is super exciting if you are a Batman reader. But yeah, we've got a little bit more, so let's jump in. Starting again, we don't have any follow-ups, we don't have any trailers. I thought we did, but it's not in the notes, so it doesn't exist. But we do have some regular-ass news. So let's get into the regular-ass news for comic books and books. We have Star Wars. We're going to start there with a couple of new things. First up, we're seeing the return of Quinlan Vos. I'm stoked! Hyperspace Stories number 9 sees the return to Quinlan Vos. He will be battling Cad Bane in this book. I have not been reading Hyperspace Stories, but at the very least I think I'm going to be doing this because Quinlan Vos is such an interesting Jedi. And we'll get to that in a second, actually. Hold on. So the other story for Star Wars is that there is a new Star Wars comic book event that has been announced by Marvel. It's called Dark Droids. There is going to be a Dark Droids book as well, coming out in August. The writer for this, oh, come on, I really like this guy. Charles Soule, there we go. Charles Soule, I really dig Charles. He was the one that started the Buffy reboot over at Boom Studios, and he did a pretty good job with that. Also worked on the Serenity book, if I'm not mistaken, though somebody correct me because I think I am. Either way, I'm a little bit of a Charles Soule fan. He's no James Tynion or anything like that, but he's pretty good. And so he's writing the book, but it's going to span all of the current Marvel Star Wars books. So basically everything. We have the Vader book. We have I can't even think. I didn't write them in the notes because why? I take amazing notes. But the thing that I was going to touch on briefly just a moment ago is this is super exciting, because not necessarily the droids thing, but the Quinlan Vos thing, because like this is... They have said in no uncertain terms that they test things in the comic book side of their world before they put it into the movies. So if this Quinlan Vos does well, if the Hyperspace Stories book does well, then maybe we'll see Quinlan Vos in a movie sometime soon. Maybe. I don't know, I'm not going to hold my breath, but it'd be really awesome. All right, so that's what we got there. Let's move over to Batman Beyond. We got a new Batman Beyond book. DC is launching a new Terry McGinnis book called Batman Beyond Neo-Gothic. Issue 1 launches July 25th. This is going to be the continuation of the current, obviously, the current Batman Beyond book that he got, or the most recent Batman Beyond book, I guess, because there's not a current. But it's going to be that new bat suit that he got at the end of the last arc. It's going to be a lot more with that, and so that's pretty freaking exciting. Beyond that, I didn't actually see who the main villain was going to be, so I can't necessarily elaborate there, but yeah, we'll keep tabs if it's significant. All right, and then our final piece, we're moving over back to Marvel, and we're talking about the X-Men this time. We have Iceman getting his own book. That's going to be titled Astonishing Iceman. It is going to be Bobby Drake Iceman. It's going to be written by Steve Orlando, and Vincenzo Caratu is going to be doing the art. I very much apologize that because I know I mispronounced his name. It's going to be a part of that Fall of X event that we talked about previously. So pretty stoked. It's been a while since Iceman's had his own book. I don't know how excited I am given the current state of Marvel Comics, but you know, it is what it is, and that's what we got. So let's move to the final piece, and that is suggestions for comic books and books. Suggestion this week is Superman Red Sun, one of, if not the most famous Elseworld story in the DC canon. Yeah, Red Sun is really cool. Just a really unique twist on all of the superheroes in the DC oeuvre, if you will. Mark Millar kind of can do no wrong. Mark Millar is one of the greatest comic book authors of all time, and he's still making comics in current age stuff, just not really for DC anymore, but still a fantastic book, so absolutely go read you some Superman Red Sun this week. So let's move now into TV shows. We're talking about Bad Batch returning for another season. We've got Ahsoka to talk about, super hype there, as well as some new Stranger Things, and not exactly what you're thinking, I don't think, but that and a bunch more, honestly, so let's get into it. We have some follow-ups, starting things off in follow-ups. We have follow-ups on that Creature Commandos series that was announced when James Gunn gave us the first 10 properties of his new DCU. Creature Commandos, we already have a piece of casting, and that is Ron Perlman is going to be doing a voice, but the new piece is that Frank Grillo is also going to be doing a voice in this series. It is speculated that he's going to be playing Rick Flag Sr., so he's going to be doing the voice of Rick Flag Sr., and potentially, if they do him in live action at some point, Grillo will very likely be playing him in live action, because that is explicitly what James Gunn has said, is they're going to try and keep all of the actors consistent from live action to animation, movies, and TV, all should be the same actor. So that's pretty exciting. Again, it is not confirmed that he's going to be Rick Flag Sr., but it seems pretty logical. Though, I mean, Perlman theoretically could be Rick Flag Sr. given the senior part, but I don't know. I think he might be a little too far gone. So moving next, we gotta talk about Mandalorian. Actually, no, we don't have to talk about Mandalorian. That would be entirely opinion piece, and the opinion stuff gets relegated to the That Just Happened episode, which we will be doing a That Just Happened episode this week, so stay tuned for that, because we really got to talk about The Mandalorian because I'm getting a little disheartened with this, though there's a smidge of hope, and actually we're going to talk about that smidge of hope in the rumors section, so, you know, stick around. But yeah, Mandalorian is going to be a thing that we talk very heavily about in the That Just Happened this week, so we're not going to touch on it here really at all, aside to say that episode 6 did not decline further in the Nielsen SoundScan ratings, though we are now for episode 4, 5, and 6 under 1 million hours watched, so under 1 million views effectively. Under 1 million views. And the final episode of season 2 had I think it was 1.2 million, where we've seen a 40% dip in the ratings from the end of season 2 until now. It has dropped for 40%. There's a lot of aspects to that, and again, we're going to get into that in the That Just Happened episode. So stay tuned to the channel for that, but let's get into more news. I apologize for the bird walk. Next up is Bad Batch. We have a follow-up on Bad Batch. It has been confirmed that there will, in fact, be a 3rd season of the Bad Batch, but kind of sadly, it is not going to be returning after the 3rd season. 3rd season is going to be the end of the Bad Batch. That is going to get us, I forget what movie that leads us into. I'm sorry, I'm brain farting. Somebody correct me. Please, somebody correct me, you know, on the socials or down in the comments, depending on where you're listening or watching. But yeah, Bad Batch returning, 3rd season is the end. Next, we have an update on the Welcome to Derry series. This is the It prequel series. We have some more casting here. So adding to the casting, we have Taylor Page, who is from Zola. We have Jovan Adepo from The Watchmen, Chris Chalk from Perry Mason, and James Remar from Dexter. James Remar also played Raiden in the Mortal Kombat Annihilation movie and was also in Sex and the City and has been in entirely too many things because I don't think he's a great actor. But that's not to say this isn't going to be a good series. So the Welcome to Derry series is still moving along nicely. That is what we have for follow-ups. Let's move now into trailers. Like I said, Star Wars Celebration happened, so we've got a couple of those. But right out the gate, we have The Flash to talk about. The Flash, the trailer for one of the final episodes, I believe it's like episode 8 or something. I don't even know. I'm just pulling that number out my ass. But the episode that airs April 26th, whatever episode that is, it's titled It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want To. This one, we get to see the return of Stephen Amell as the Green Arrow, which kind of come in full circle. We didn't necessarily anticipate this, but it is going to be a big team-up episode, according to the trailer. Go watch the trailer. It's pretty hype. I don't know if you're into the CW stuff, but this is probably the cream of the crop when it comes to that stuff. Next, we have Ahsoka. We actually have a freaking trailer for Ahsoka that is exactly what I wanted it to be. And is that Ezra Bridger that we saw in the trailer ever so briefly in a little hollow thing? I think it might be. This just looks so good. I mean, it airs in August. We're just going to keep gushing. So let's move on. We also have a trailer for Marvelous Miss Maisel that airs next week, or the end of this week, rather. Marvelous Miss Maisel, final season, season 5, April 14th. If you have not watched this, I don't know why I didn't put this as the suggestion for TV streaming section this week, but I didn't. If you have not watched Marvelous Miss Maisel, you really got no time to catch up now. You're just going to be playing catch up all the way through season 5, but it is worth your time. It is hilarious. Continuing right along, we have Secret Invasion trailer that dropped. This one was a little old at this point, so you've probably seen it, but still interesting, raises some questions. Where are they going with this is kind of the big one right there. But yeah, go check out the trailer. We'll have that conversation. And then the other Star Wars trailer that is super hype right now is Visions Chapter 2, or Part 2, Volume 2, sorry. Visions Volume 2, dropping May 4th. So may the 4th be with you. It is dropping on Star Wars Day. May 4th is the day that we get to see some more, we start to see, because they do week to week, but yeah, just judging from this trailer, this is going to be pretty awesome. The first Visions season was pretty awesome, so yeah, no reason to think this one won't be. That's what we got for trailers. Let's move into regular ass news. First up is a new Star Trek series that has been announced. Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Co-showrunners and executive producers Alex Kurtzman and Noga Landau are doing this show together. So Kurtzman, kind of a divisive figure in the Star Trek fan base, but I don't know, this one seems interesting. So Star Trek Starfleet Academy is being billed as a, quote, CW style teenage drama. Okay. Sounds like a simple way of describing something that is a little more family oriented, which in the world of Star Trek kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So, I don't know, I can get behind the idea. We'll see about the execution, but I can get behind the idea. Next, in regular ass news, we have a new Stranger Things series that has been announced, and this is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be live action, it's going to be an animated series. According to the Duffer Brothers, who do Stranger Things, according to them, it is going to be an animated series in the style of the 80s and early 90s Saturday morning cartoons. So it's going to... What that means, Lord only knows at this point, because that could mean a lot of different things, but theoretically what that means is it's going to be like an action-adventure kind of deal, and the subject matter still very much remains to be seen. So once we know a little bit more about it, we will be talking about it, but it is coming. It is a thing that Netflix is producing, so there you go. Next, we have, this is probably the biggest and maybe my favorite of the news for this week, and it is Scott Pilgrim. Netflix, speaking of, is doing a Scott Pilgrim animated series as well. This one is going to be obviously a lot more in-depth than the movie ever could have been, because series, but is also bringing back the live-action cast from the movie to do voices for the series. And it's a very large bit of the... So we have Michael Cera, obviously, Scott Pilgrim. Mary Elizabeth Winstead will be returning as Ramona Flowers. We also have Satay Baba. I think that's how that's said. Kieran Culkin is going to be returning. Chris Evans, Anna Kendrick, Brie Larson, Allison Pill, Aubrey Plaza, Brandon Routh, Jason Schwartzman, Johnny Simmons, Mark Webber, Mae Whitman, Ellie Wong. Yeah, and I think there were a couple that I didn't quite grab. Either way, original creator of the comic book, Brian Lee O'Malley, as well as writer Ben David Grabinski, will be show creators. They're the ones that are putting the idea together. O'Malley himself is going to be the show runner, so the guy in charge of making every one of the episodes happen. And Edgar Wright, the director of the movie, is going to be executive producing the series. So it's just one big Scott Pilgrim love fest up in there, and who can say no to that? And then we have more news. I know, I probably should have saved that one for the end, but whatever. We have American Horror Story update. Technically not an update because it's a new season. Season 12, they've announced that they will be featuring very heavily, as she's going to be the primary character, Kim Kardashian is going to be primary character in American Horror Story. Yeah? No? Yeah, probably not. Apparently the part was written specifically for her, with her in mind, or whatever. And this might be the first season of American Horror Story I don't watch. Just saying. That's what we got for all of the regular ass news. Let's talk about our suggestion for this week. The reason that I didn't recommend Marvelous Miss Maisel this week for a suggestion is because Succession is in its final season. We're 3 episodes deep as I'm filming this, and it's amazing. I didn't realize that the cutthroat nature of the corporate world could be so compelling. And oh my god, I love this show. If you haven't watched any of it, honestly, start at episode 1, season 1, and you will get sucked in pretty quickly. This one just kind of jumps up and goes. There's no getting used to it or figuring out who these characters are. They tell you who they are repeatedly and in ways that are incredibly entertaining. Speaking of Kieran Culkin, also in this, and probably the best thing about, I don't know, Brian Cox is pretty amazing as well, but just everyone in this cast is surprisingly incredible, and you should watch it. Succession, final season airing now. Oh my god, that's your suggestion for the week. Movie section. Let's talk about some movies, shall we? In today's movie section, we're talking about Minecraft the movie, as well as an update on the Five Nights at Freddy's situation, and Street Fighter. Yes, there is very likely going to be another live-action Street Fighter movie, but by a legitimately good movie development. Let's just talk about this. So, follow-ups and corrections is our first bit. We have a follow-up on the Aquaman Lost Kingdom situation. They bumped up the release date by 5 days. It was going to be coming out on Christmas Day, which is silly, and now it's coming out on the 20th of December, which is much, much better, because then they have a little bit of build-up into the holiday instead of just going, yeah, holiday. So yeah, it's moving from a Monday to a Wednesday, presumably, again, to give them that extra little bit of a weekend, so they're not dealing with the holidays and buyer's remorse and people not wanting to spend money, because that's kind of what happens when you launch on Christmas Day, but I don't know, to each their own, I guess. Also, of note for this is now they're going to be releasing on the same day as the Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel, so could be a little bit of an issue, but we'll see. That's what we got on that one, though. Let's move over to Minecraft. Yes, Minecraft is getting a movie. And not only is Minecraft getting a movie, but Jason Momoa is attached to this movie. And we have a release date for the Minecraft movie. April 4th, 2025 is when they are targeting to release this Minecraft movie. What the hell could they be doing for a Minecraft movie? Something, and we'll keep tabs on it. Moving right along, we now have a release date for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie that we've been keeping tabs on ever since the announcement way back forever ago. And it's not just a theatrical release. This is going to be day and date release, theatrical and streaming. So, in theaters and on Peacock, both on October 27th of this year, 2023, is when you'll be able to watch the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Is this a sign that they are not as confident with this release as they once were? Possibly. But that remains to be seen, so we'll keep in tabs. And then our final follow-up has to do with Joker Folie à Deux, the sequel to the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie with Lady Gaga, so on and so forth. The announcement here is that they have wrapped on principal photography. So very, very likely we'll be moving into post, doing some pickup shots and so on and so forth, maybe doing a couple of reshoots a couple months down the road. But it seems that they are definitely on track. So there's that. That's what we got there. Let's talk about trailers. I kind of did a little short video over on the Clips channel about the Blue Beetle trailer the day after it launched, I believe. And I'm not going to rehash that necessarily, but the Blue Beetle trailer dropped. I'm still pretty hype about this, especially considering that the very controversial line at the end of the trailer is not said by Jaime, but Uncle George, so that's a little bit better. Either way, still kind of hype about this movie. Not quite as hype as I was before the trailer dropped, which sucks, which is kind of the exact opposite of what a trailer's supposed to do, but go watch it for yourself. Let's have that conversation. The next trailer we're talking about is Extraction 2. So Chris Hemsworth, June 16th, Netflix. Those are the things you need to know. Produced by Anthony and Joe Russo. Chris Hemsworth, blah, 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 blah. There was something else in these notes that I needed, whatever. I think this is the modern equivalent of One for Me, One for Them. I think this is the one for them. I don't know what else Hemsworth has been doing necessarily. Maybe it's the Marvel stuff. Maybe the Marvel messaging is the one for him because he believes in such messaging. But the Extraction movies are definitely a very different target audience, and one that seems to be actually spending money on movies. So that's good. But this trailer looks I mean, if you're into modern action films, this is probably going to be one of the best. Not, I mean, no exaggeration. This looks pretty hype. Next, we're talking about the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer dropping June 2nd is this movie, and this one is doing the thing because really want to know what Spider-Man 2099 has against Miles Morales because... yeah, definitely intriguing. And so again, this trailer is doing its job. Again, June 2nd is the launch for this, and let's move right along. Next trailer is the Barbie trailer. Okay, so July 19th, we're talking about this one, not because it's necessarily nerdy, but like, generally speaking, why is nobody talking about the marketing for this movie? Like, it's pretty inflammatory. Like, really inflammatory. Like, this is like, are we trying to start himbo typecast? I don't under... Oh, but yeah, Barbie's a thing, and it's going to be very divisive. That's what we're saying there. Let's move right along. Let's get in some regular-ass news. First up, again, this one's a little bit older because it's been 2 weeks since we talked about the news. Moana, The Rock, has announced that he's going to be the driving force behind a live-action Moana adaptation, which is silly for so many reasons, not the least of which being they only just made Moana in the scheme of Disney, because Disney generally only remakes a movie when they're about to lose their copyright on it, when they're about to lose their whatever the rights are. I can't think of the words, but yeah, when that's about to lapse, they release another version of the movie, or they do a remaster of the movie or something along those lines so they can maintain their rights. And 10 years is not at all a short or a long enough amount of time for that to be an issue. So I think this one is a little bit tone deaf on The Rock's part, but and no, it's not just me, because a lot of the fan base is also saying similar things. So yeah, that's no bueno. All right, so now we're moving into Star Wars Celebration. The big noteworthy things as far as movies go from the Star Wars Celebration. We have the announcement of three new movies, one of which has been heavily rumored for some time, and the other one kind of has as well. One of the others as well. So first up, we have the big one that's been rumored for some time is the Rey movie. We've been talking about these rumors for a while. As the rumors started to progress, I started to raise the likelihood that we're going to be seeing a Rey-centric movie. Honestly, don't think I ever really doubted this, but now we have official confirmation that there is in fact going to be a Rey movie, and the speculation here is that Rey is going to be rebuilding the Jedi Order in her image, which is a little divisive, but they could fix it. They could make it better. I'm gonna just go with most of the fan base and say, we'll see when it happens. But then the next one is the other one that's been kind of rumored for some time, and that is the Dave Filoni Star Wars movie. The reason I say it that way is because it's been rumored that Dave Filoni is going to be in charge of everything for some time, because that's what the fan base really wants. They want Kathleen Kennedy out of there, and they want Filoni to be the guy in charge of everything. Well, this is almost a consolation prize, because it's a movie, and potentially a movie could evolve into a trilogy. But I think the kind of downer piece to this, or the little bit not so much great, is that it is going to be an extension of the Mandalorian universe that he's created, the side of the corner of the universe rather that he's playing in, that focuses rather heavily on the Mandalorians. That's what the movie is going to be based around as well. So a little bit of a different kind of Star Wars, still probably going to be good because Dave Filoni, but yeah, see our Mandalorian discussion later this week to see why I have a little bit of trepidation around that. And then the third one is going to be a movie helmed by James Mangold. The James Mangold movie is going to be set in the past at the dawn of the Jedi, which sounds pretty awesome. Not gonna lie. That's all we really know about these movies so far, so that's all we can talk about. But let's move on. Speaking of James Mangold, we now have confirmation that the Swamp Thing movie is supposed to be happening, and James Mangold is going to be the one directing. Is going to be a horror comic book movie adaptation. We also have the confirmation that not only is he writing, he's also directing, and that goes double for the Star Wars movie that he's doing as well. He's also going to be writing, directing that. That's pretty awesome. Let's move right along. Our final piece of regular ass news has to do with Street Fighter. The rights to make movies and stuff based on the Street Fighter IP has been kind of all over the place. We got those, what was the Chun-Li one that was garbage, and then I think there was another live action one that went straight to streaming. And then the Raul Julia, Jean-Claude Van Damme one that happened in the 90s that was huge for not great reasons. Yeah, it's been just kind of everywhere. But the rights for TV and movie series, or TV series and movies, I guess I should say, has recently been purchased by Legendary Pictures. Legendary Pictures has put out some pretty epic stuff, not the least of which Godzilla, Batman, the Christopher Nolan Batman, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, just this has the makings of potentially being a very good thing. What with, you know, Super Mario Brothers doing so incredibly, like, beyond anyone's expectations. Mortal Kombat a couple years ago doing pretty well as well. The sequel lining up to be doing much, much better. Just gaming movies are going a little nuts right now, and in good ways. And then you have The Last of Us, the series on HBO Max. Just fantastic all over the place. So Legendary making a at the very least, just a Street Fighter movie, I'm on board. Let's do this. That's what we got, like I said, for regular ass news. So let's talk about suggestions in movies this week, and we're going really old school, 1967 old school. We're talking about The Jungle Book, the OG Jungle Book, before they started doing live action reimaginings, before any of this stuff, man. This is just good old fashioned great fun, some great music. Maybe it hasn't aged as well as it possibly could have, but it is still a slice of history and an incredible piece of art. Go watch The Jungle Book to have a little bit of fun with the family this week. So that only leaves the rumor mill. We have no confirmations or refutations per se. I mean, we did have the Rey announcement for the Star Wars things, and so Rey's getting a movie, and we've talked about those rumors, and so that's kind of a confirmation, but no real heavy, like, oh my god, this is actually a thing. So we're going to jump right into news sources. We have a news source on the Harry Potter situation. This one is Bloomberg, so it's pretty big. But we have new word that the Harry Potter series over on HBO Max is nearing completion. At least not the production of the series, but the contracts to make the series happen are nearing signatures, is the way this is being sold. So HBO Max, we talked about this for a month. The kind of new developments in this rumor are that J.K. Rowling is going to be in charge. She's going to be an executive producer with final creative say on any creative decisions. So that's pretty significant. Also, each season of this series, if it does come to fruition, is going to focus on a book, which means we're going to get much more depth from the books in this live action iteration. It is also, goes without saying, it's also going to be a brand new cast because, you know, starting from little kids again. So that's that rumor. To follow up on the rumor, I guess. The other one we have is Superman Legacy. We have another rumor saying that James Gunn is going to be looking for a much younger actor, presumably in his early, at the oldest, mid-20s, to be playing Kal-El, Superman. Yeah. we don't really do, for news sources, we don't really do percentages, but both of these are coming from pretty solid sources. And actually, the Superman one is coming from like 2 or 3 pretty solid sources. So there you go. All right, so new rumors. Let's talk about new rumors. We have 2 Mandalorian rumors. We're going to start the first one. Pedro Pascal, and therefore Din Djarin, is rumored to be exiting the series of The Mandalorian as of the end of season 3. The rumor goes on to imply that maybe there's going to be Din Djarin death at the end of season 3, or maybe the character is just going to abandon the story, if you will, leaving potentially, if they go that second route, leaving potentially the option for him to return if he, you know, really wants that Disney money, which most actors do, I would imagine. So 50% likelihood on this. I was unable to get anyone else to substantiate this, but I don't know, it's kind of been floating around to a certain degree, what with the onset issues with Pedro from season 2. Just seems like this kind of sort of falls in line with that, but again, not substantiated by anyone else as of yet. So can't go all the way, it can't go very high at all. We're going halfway through because it could go either way at this point. The other Mandalorian rumor that we have is that episode 7, which is airing, you know, this week, episode 7 is reportedly going to tie into the Ahsoka series and very possibly introduce Grand Admiral Thrawn. This might be what this season needs. Again, there's a whole conversation over on That Just Happened that we're going to have that needs to be had about this, but right now, for the sake of this point, I feel like yeah, if that's the direction this is going, if we're setting up a grand battle in episode 8, but also we're going to be introducing Ahsoka and Grand Admiral Thrawn in episode 7, like this is very potentially going to end strong. The middle got a little wonky there for a while, but the ending sounds like it's going to be pretty strong. So I'm giving this one a 60% likelihood, because we know that Ahsoka, Disney does this. Disney ties in other series into current series so they can keep you hooked, or theoretically keep you hooked going further and further into other series. And we know that Grand Admiral Thrawn's going to be, because he was in the Ahsoka trailer, so that's, you know, all of these things starting to line up. So yeah, we're going 60%. That's pretty conservative, but I think it's appropriate. Our next rumor has to do with some gaming stuff. We got Halo Infinite Season 4 rumors. We have 5 helmets, 1 new glove set, 6 shoulder pieces, and 3 knee pads for the Yaorai armor core throughout the course of Season 4. So I'm on board for that. This comes from a super reliable source. Like, so reliable, I'm going to be very surprised if there's not at least that and potentially more coming for the Yaorai core, because Yaorai is kind of my favorite. That's the one that I play the most. You know, you would know that if you joined us on the live shows, because the second half of most of the live shows is game time, and I've been playing a fair amount of Halo on stream recently. So yeah, so 90% likely that these Halo Infinite rumors are to be believed. Because that being said, that's what we've got for the episode. Thank you very much, nerds, for sticking around to the end. I appreciate your faces. We will see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all of the things. If you're falling behind on your nerd news, you want to catch up, you should be able to click or tap one of those boxes to the side of my face to do that. If you are watching, you know, on the main YouTube, if you're just listening on audio, then go check out the YouTube. That being said, I appreciate you, nerds. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.